Michael, we are used to bizarre things happening in Israel and the Jewish world, but over the last couple of weeks, perhaps one of the most bizarre of them all was the exit of some UNRWA officials from Gaza. To where? Ironically, the answer is Israel, the only civilized country in the region. It was reported that last week UNRWA assisted 10 international senior officials in their escape from the Gaza Strip to Israel, based on credible threats to their safety. This was required after Palestinian Arab protesters surrounded and blocked a car containing UNRWA officials for an hour in, quote, a threatening and dangerous confrontation. Furthermore, a crowd of Gazans mobilised by the UNRWA Employees Union prevented some 300 employees of the Palestinian Refugee Agency from accessing their offices at the organisation's Gaza headquarters for about a week and have made serious threats against senior staffers. This was triggered because of President Trump's funding cuts, at which point UNRWA announced that it was laying off 113 employees in Gaza and offering 584 full-time workers there part-time jobs instead. The locals were not amused. UNRWA employs some 13,000 Palestinians in Gaza who provide health, education, welfare and other services to 1.3 million Palestinians it has registered as refugees. Over the decades, this whole UNRWA issue has become a mess, and thankfully President Trump has started the ball rolling to effect some changes. UNRWA, of course, is the United Nations agency that was set up to deal specifically with the Palestinian Arab refugee issue resulting from the recreation of Israel in 1948. And let's not forget that when this happened, the Arab inhabitants of Palestine becoming Israel were invited to remain as citizens, but many chose to flee because the Arab armies at the time promised them that once they had cleansed the area of Jews, these local Arabs would be able to return to their homes and continue life as before, but without those pesky Jews. But that didn't go quite to plan, and now we have a vibrant Israel having to live with a useless UN agency that has done nothing to make life better for the Arabs it is supposed to care for. The real problem with UNRWA is that its charter is different to those of other agencies designed to address refugee issues around the world. Not simply resettling refugees to ensure their basic needs are met, UNRWA's charter says that it will do this until, and this is important, a just solution to the underlying cause of the conflict is realised. So even though hundreds of thousands of Palestinian Arabs are living under the rule of the Palestinian Authority and Hamas, i.e. their own governments, because the conflict has not been resolved, UNRWA just carries on indefinitely. And because they define any descendant of those original Arabs as refugees, the number is now up to 5 million and is projected to get to 20 million in another 40 years, unless something changes. But just to illustrate how corrupt this whole project is, it is reported that for 20 years or so, the death rate of Palestinian Arabs was close to zero, because anybody who died was buried at night, and this death, therefore, not registered. As we all know, UNRWA is little more than an official UN advocate for the Palestinian cause that has nothing to do with resolving the so-called refugee issue. Under the Oslo Accords, Israel withdrew from monitoring the Palestinian publications and textbooks, and that didn't go exactly very well. These days, UNRWA unconditionally accepts the school curriculums as determined by the PA, and there are many examples where school textbooks have been exposed as being anti-Semitic and calling for the destruction of Jews and Israel. In more recent times, according to UN Watch, at least 10 different UNRWA employees have used social media to incite stabbing and shooting attacks against Jewish Israelis. President Trump has pulled out about a third of UNRWA's funding, which is what America has contributed to in all these years, and so he should. The weaselly European governments, however, are vowing to increase their contributions to compensate, and good luck to them. If they want to throw their money down the drain, that's their business. They are slowly learning, however, that accepting millions of Arab refugees is not doing much for their economies. So I'm sure that sooner or later, their own people will start asking the same questions as President Trump did. There will never be peace until the Palestinian Arabs understand that they have lost their war to eradicate Israel. Getting rid of UNRWA would be a good start to ensuring this happens. This is Alan Freedman from Nothing Left for the AJA.